put you on the
However,
spot
I
here.
do my
What do you
transactions
mean
in
by
Okay,
British
Shopper, what do you
pounds.
think?
That's the way it should be,
I
isn't
will
it?
shut you.
When I
That's how
go
we think something.
overseas to the US, it's seamless for me doing my transactions in dollars.
Oh,
You know
I
what I
can
mean?
think things, don't worry.
Oui, when I
I
go
can
to France,
imagine.
madame et monsieur, it only benefits
Okay,
me,
PJ,
you
here
know,
we
still
go.
spending euros.
Introducing the First Bank Visa Debit
You can think
Multi-Currency
things.
Card. Because we put you first, we designed a
Chest, is everything
first-of-its-kind
okay?
debit card to make all your international transactions easy. With the First Bank Visa Debit Multi-Currency Card, you can spend in Naira, shop in pounds, buy in dollars, and
God.
transact in euros, all on one card. Become a true citizen of the world with the First Bank Visa Debit Multi-Currency Card. First Bank, you first.
Oh, shit. Anyway, Freshly Press is not about
This
you,
is
the
Paul, and you're
presenters.
listening to
It's about
Smooth
you, the
Breakfast.
panelists. I can just read the headline. I say your thoughts.
The Smooth Breakfast presents the headlines, the stories, the news. In-depth analysis of national current
So what's my
affairs.
first one?
Okay, so you are doing number 3.
No,
But you
no,
know,
that's for me. Yeah, that's me.
that's you know, 2022%. Oh, you scared me. Well, I feel like maybe you
You
should come
first.
in
First
on one of
bag.
these so we hear your voice quicker.
Okay, we're ready. Smooth 98.1 Love Music, Love Life. If you just joined us, it's time for Freshly Pressed 981, where we bring you detailed analysis of stories making rounds in the dailies. And of course, leading us through conversations as always is at, Chester. Good morning, Chester. Good morning.
Good morning. Who did the accents on that first bank advert?
I don't know, but it sounded pretty good. Sorry.
No, sounds like you. Sounded crappy.
That was a lady's voice, by the way, just
No.
so you know.
It wasn't a lady's voice.
Chetawaze, I'm calling your name.
Well,
Yes.
that's it.
So
And also, we have Mr. C in the studio. Good morning, Mr. C.
Good morning, Kaide. Good morning, Shopper. Good morning, Jexter. Good morning, Lagos.
I don't know,
I
I'm
don't
lost
know
for words already.
how we put a vowel in that name, but it's okay.
All right, so if you're out there and you want to be a part of our talk this morning, please head on down to our YouTube page. It's youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos. And also, please reach out to us on Twitter. Use the hashtag freshlypress91. And finally, your WhatsApp messages come to 0809-444-0981.
All right, so let's start off with this news in from the Punch newspaper. Transport fares jump by 283% amid rising fuel subsidy. This is according to a National Bureau of Statistics report, which talked about intercity transport fares in Nigeria, saying that the cost of bus transportation within Nigerian cities rose from 122 naira and 83 kobo in January 2017 to 470 naira and 83 kobo in December 2021. Now, this, as we know, is over a period of 4 years, meaning that the cost of intercity bus transportation has risen by 283%, or if you like your numbers in naira, 384 naira in 4 years. Now, this is kind of interesting because despite this massive, and I say massive increase in transportation fares, we see that, from the article, it talks about rising fuel subsidy because we see that the price of petrol increased only by 11.48% within those 4 years. However, the cost of fuel subsidy rose by 889.41%. My goodness. Your thoughts on all of these numbers that are headed our way?
yeah, I find it very interesting. I mean, naturally I was giving the story, so I spent a good deal of time crunching the numbers, and certain patterns began to jump out at me. The first things first is that globally transport fares are rising. We're not insulated, so it's not. It's not, of course, because of our own inflation terms, which are our own inflation, which is rather ridiculous. The transport rises are a lot higher. Having said that, one of the things that is driving the global rise in transportation costs is a global rise in energy costs, and this is where Nigeria begins to buck trend. So it's important to always realize that the naira is not a real currency. So
Excuse me?
it's not a medium of trade. The naira is not a store of value, whatever thing you want to add. So basically, once you step out of MMA or step out of Idiroko or wherever you want to step out of, the naira becomes just paper in your pocket. So whenever you think of that, always try to convert to USD. That helps you to calculate things, and that is where the parts that I want to bring out comment.
Okay.
I'm using official CBN rate because whenever we, Mr. C is looking at me because I say official CBN.
I'm going to you.
Okay. Whenever we import petrol, it's official rates that we use. I mean, petrol is one of the things that is not on the CBN's import restriction list. So it's official rates that they use to import it. So that's why I'm using the official CBN rates for this. As of January 31st, 2017, which is the first day that the reports reference, the exchange rate for the naira to the dollar as per the CBN was 304 naira 16 kobo. While on the last day of the report reference, which was December 31st, 2021, the exchange rate was 411 naira 94 kobo. So that means that the pump price of petrol as of that day, which in the period was day one is January 31st, day zero is January 31st, day one is January 31st, 2017, day zero is day one is December 31st, 2021. So on day zero, pump price of petrol was 148 naira, while on day one, pump price of petrol was 165 naira. So convert at the prevailing exchange rates of the time, and you'll find that the pump price of petrol here was 49 cents on day zero, and then it was 40 cents on day one. Essentially, while energy prices in the rest of the world went up, in Nigeria it went down. Magic? Perhaps. We have this thing called petrol subsidy or under recovery, whatever language you want to use to describe it. Now, why do I bring it up? Look at transport costs. On day zero, the transport cost was 37 cents. And on day one, the transport cost was $1.14. So transportation costs have gone up in Nigeria, again by that factor of higher 200s, almost 300%, while energy costs to the Nigerian has gone down. It's a lacuna. And it doesn't, when you look at figures such as this, and this is I think it's important to point out, this is the government's own official statistics agency. When you look at reports such as this, somebody has to pay the price of this economic magic that we're doing. So is it a wonder that all other things are coming this thing? So let us go back to Naira. The cost of the subsidy as of day zero was 148 billion Naira, as per the reports. I mean, it's all. When I read the article in the Punch, I went to the MBS and downloaded the report, so I saw everything. The cost of petrol subsidy was 148 billion Naira. Last year, day zero, the cost was 1.14 trillion Naira. Now that the government has walked back this whole subsidy removal thing, the NNPC is asking for 3 trillion Naira to pay for subsidy. What was government's revenue last year? FIRS was backslapping the other day that they extracted, what was it, 6 trillion Naira. Although, according to the budget performance reports that I saw, it was like 5 trillion. So let us assume that we generate 3 trillion Naira as revenue this year. What they are telling us essentially is that we're going to take half of it in an 18 trillion Naira budget. We are only generating 1/3 of the budget, and we're taking half of that 1/3 to pay for subsidy, which means that we have a budget deficit of 5/6 or 5/6. Okay, 85%. 80% if you want to make it easier for people to understand. 85% is going to be funded by what? Borrowing. When debt to revenue service is already what, 92%. Wahala deal.
My goodness. I don't think there's anything we can add to this. So let's go over to what you have to say. Do send your WhatsApp messages into 0809 440 981. And of course, we're streaming live up on youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos.
Chen comes into the chapter. Please send those figures to the NLC so they can encourage the federal government to remove the oil subsidy. But real quick though, let's move on to the Vanguard
I have a
newspaper.
low tolerance of that people. The NLC are not full of right backs.
Okay, so armed Boko Haram terrorists suspected to be members of ISWAP group who invaded Kutukari village of Chibok local government area in Borno State have freed 4 girls abducted on Friday, 14th January. Some sources have said. Josiah, what do you make of the story?
It's how to carry Chibok. So, I mean, one of the things that I've said so many times and I've been chewed by various government supporting acts on it is that the war against Boko Haram is going very badly. The army adopted something called Super Camp Strategy back in 2016. And when they adopted it, I sat, because I'm not on the chair that I'm sitting on there, on the one that Mr. is sitting on. I sat there and said, this is a bad idea. I know that, yes, unfortunately, people would say, oh, yeah, please criticize, always criticize. But this Super Camp thing has never worked. The Americans did it in Vietnam, we know the results. That's the Soviets, and then the Americans did it in Afghanistan. We all saw those people running in front of planes last year. So basically, what is Super Camp? They fortify certain places that they consider key, including Maiduguri, such as Maiduguri, and then they essentially abandon the rest of the countryside to the insurgents. The problem is that, especially in a large area of land, so such a thing may have a possibility of working somewhere that's in the southeast of Nigeria that is small geographically. But in an area where there's a large expanse of land, you essentially give the insurgents an opportunity to trade space for time.
Okay.
Which enables them to grow stronger. It happens all the time. Now, on Saturday morning, that's the day before yesterday, the Irish Times published a piece. It was their lead story. And it was a feature piece by journalist Sally Hayden. And it was Forgotten Conflict, a week in a city under siege by Boko Haram. As in, the rest of the world don't move, they've forgotten the conflict. And in that piece, Sally, who spent a week in Maiduguri, said something that I found interesting. When she was asking about people about the latest Chibok kidnaps, I'm quoting word for word now. When you mention it, many of Maiduguri's residents are bemused that this specific kidnapping gathered so much attention. Abductions are commonplace. Tens of thousands of people, many of them children, have been taken since the war began. And so I began to look at the numbers, and I looked at the numbers for the last, it's essentially 3 years now, 2019, 2020, and 2021. In that period that I looked at, of a period of 1,126 days, there have been 857 incidents in Borno, 857 incidents of jihadi violence. Because you can't say just Boko Haram anymore. There's Boko Haram, the Jazz faction, there's ISWAP. That's an average of 4 incidents every 5 days. Yeah, people will come and tell us, oh, we've won. They've been technically defeated. But every 5 days, 4 things happen around the state. Let's see, we need to tell ourselves the truth if we are to have any chance of moving.
All right, thank you so much, Cheta. Don't forget, you can get your thoughts in 0809-444-0981. That's where you can send your messages.
This actually makes me want to go to another story. So I'm just going to do a quick jump because it actually, what you ended with takes me to this story from this day newspaper where the vice president says that said that the federal government's designation of bandits as terrorists to end insecurity in Nigeria. Now, the vice president, according to him, the federal government gazetted bandits as terrorists to enable security agencies to take more stringent action against them. And he said, we expect to see significant changes. We expect to see peace. And by the grace of God, peace will return completely to all our villages and communities in this state and all across the country. Security, as you know it, is the president's desire, which, harking back to what we've just heard, I'm just going to say, go on, Cheta.
It's difficult for me doing Osibajo stories because I like the man as a person. But it's also very painful for me seeing a very brilliant man being reduced to a mere motivational speaker. How do you end the insecurity thing? A few numbers. Unemployment rates has shot up to 33%. Youth unemployment is even worse. The government that Osibajo is number 2 has destroyed 18 million jobs in the 7 years that it has been in office. All those 18 million people, many of them, the bulk of them, young people, they didn't disappear. 18 million Nigerians did not japa. So they are there somewhere. Does it surprise anyone the rise in insecurity? These guys need to have something to do. And then let us also consider all the politics that was played around this particular designation. Because it's very important to look at, you see, hypocrisies will always have a way of creating a negative reaction. When it was IPOB, there was no drama around designating them as a terrorist group.
It happened the same day. They were Gaza said the same thing.
When it was these bandits, it took what?
More than 3 weeks.
People had been appealing for them for 9 months.
Yep.
Then it was finally 3 weeks after a court order was given and all excuses had run out. What such things do is that they create in the minds of people a sense of injustice and inequity. And the moment you have that, then you lose all legitimacy as a neutral arbiter. And once you have no legitimacy as a neutral arbiter, you cannot enforce peace, justice, or security. It's that simple. So the first thing that the next government needs to be talking about doing, and I say the next government because this government is done. Every other, see, we are now in election season. There's no going to be no governance. It's all politics now. The thing that the next government needs to be doing, the first thing on day one, in short, they should do something that has never been done in Nigerian history. The day that the next president becomes president-elect, he should, within a week, have his ministers designated. And they should start forming. You don't have to laugh like that, no? Because he has this look on his face like
He should
I'm
start
came from
forming.
La La Land. They can't even afford to hit the ground running. They need to hit the ground flying. So if, just for the sake of arguments now, let us assume that Godwin Emefiele becomes president-elect. If Godwin Emefiele becomes president-elect, he needs to have his cabinet ready
and be going.
as in ready. So the election is on February 14 next year. Is it February 14? February 18, sorry. February 18. So all things being equal, we should have a result by February 24. By February 31, he should know his cabinet. Yes, I said February 31.
Hopefully, let's see if that works.
Mr. T, can I just say, love does not win elections. Look at how quickly he tried to deny February 14th.
Got a few messages here real quick. Let's
Yes,
jump
we
into
do.
these messages.
All right, youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos. Up on the live stream, messages coming in from Sifri Ashe, who says, I totally agree with Cheska on our erudite vice president, such a learned man with little or no effect. Sifri also says, welcome back, Cheta. Wasu Babafemi Onobeson says, there's no better combination of analysts than Chickster and Mr. C. These guys are electrically knowledgeable. All right.
This one here says the subsidy thing is a scam irrespective of the data. Certain questions
Belie the scam.
Now, one, why on earth are we still importing petrol? Two, if we are deregulated, why is there a monopoly of supply?
Ooh, and lots of messages coming in. Hold on, let's try and I don't know why I'm telling the system to hold on. Let's try and see if we can get some of them read out here. Oladimeji says, I don't think the analysis on cost of energy as it relates to the cost of transportation is watertight. Analyzing using only cost of fuel is very limited. Fuel is just one of the variables used in the cost of transportation in Nigeria. Transporters are entrepreneurs that contend against rising cost of dollar every day. They need to change the vehicles, buy new ones, service the vehicles with parts purchased from Ladipo, and so on and so forth. All these are affected by dollars at the market rate, so prices will naturally rise. It's only normal. Cheta, I see your hand up, but we don't have time.
It's important to point out that the cost of transportation rose. So all of these things that he said had an effect. you saw the effect is market.
Hmm.
But the cost of energy in Nigeria fell while the cost of energy in the rest of the world rose.
Thank you,
OPEC
Professor.
didn't have an effect here.
Real quick, let's move on to the next story because of our time. But we see messages, we're going to get to them real quick. But Mr. C, this one comes to you. It talks about the budget. So, actually,
2022 budget, you're right.
yes, it talks about the budget. So the Nigerian government votes 500 million naira for prosecution of Boko Haram suspects and others. This from the Premium Times. What do you make of this?
Okay, thank you, Kayode. Very quickly, this is a story that is, I find, a bit disturbing and shocking, and I'm going to explain why. Now, the federal government has voted, through its Ministry of Justice, has voted a sum of 500 million for the prosecution of Boko Haram cases and other criminal suspects in the 2022 calendar year. Now, this sum is different from another sum of 308 million naira, which is also for the prosecution of prison inmates, maritime offshore offenses, Boko Haram suspects, etc. Now, the big question here is, in the Ministry of Justice, we have trained prosecutors who are employed by the federal government, who earn monthly salaries and whatever allowances they're legally entitled to and illegal ones they can get away with.
Okay.
So if that is the case, and the courts already have their allocations given to them through the constitution, the constitutional route, what are these sums of money for and who are they being paid to? Why are we paying 808 million naira for prosecution when we have prosecutors within the Ministry of Justice that have been trained and are paid to do the job? These are pertinent questions. Now, beyond all of this, there have been 3 phases of these trials so far that have been held in military detention centers,
Yes.
and judges have been moved there to try the suspects. What were the outcomes of those trials? I don't recall reading the outcomes of those trials. Now, there's another group. Okay.
But real quick, though, so it said some of the detainees, we've had as much as 10,000 detainees die in the military detention, basically, and some of them 800 of them are being processed. But altogether, how can the process be sped up? And is there a need to spend this much money?
So clearly, some money will have to be spent if we're going to be honest, but I'm not sure 808 million is the right amount. That's one. 2, why there are faster ways of processing people. From the time you have them arrested and you have them interrogated, you then have a first view of whether there's a prima facie case against them, and further interrogations will reveal whether they need to be taken to court. Now, in all of that, in 2019, they weren't taken to court because they were sustained. There was an increase in Boko Haram attacks. Then came 2020, the year of COVID. In 2021, we don't know what happened. But all of a sudden, the Minister of Justice says efforts are being put in place and the people will soon be taken to court. And we must remember, in this latest batch, about 400 individuals who are accused of being financiers of Boko Haram. And these are Bureau de Change operators who were picked up in raids in primarily Kano, I think Kaduna. So these guys are in court, and the efforts being made by the Ministry of Justice to try them. Now, at the end of the day, these sums cannot be defended. Even if he's hiring senior advocates of Nigeria, why are your people unable to handle the prosecution? And more importantly, he's also a senior advocate. How many cases has he gone to court personally to prosecute?
All right. Thank you so much for that, Mr. C. Let's jump into our stories real quick. This one from Kingsley says fuel subsidy removal cannot work in Nigeria as long as APC keeps devaluing the naira. If the naira is 150 to $1, the subsidy is removed. Fuel will sell, and fuel will sell at about 130. But naira has been devalued 4 times. It's almost 600 naira, and APC wants to remove the subsidy so that fuel will sell above 500. And the 3 trillion being budgeted for subsidy is based on the devalued naira.
All right, more messages coming in. This one says, hold on, Sartu says, let's not forget that security operatives also contribute to the hike in transport fares through their checkpoints that have been dismantled and assembled several times. We've got a message in from Ken who says maybe this 880 million is ransom money. Right.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right.
This one from Okwe says the money for prosecuting crimes unheard of is professional fees for already employed lawyers, filing fees, transportation. As a lawyer, I'm wondering what is happening here. Nigeria is settling a terrible precedence of waste, waste, waste.
Federal government agencies don't pay filing fees.
Okay. Well, there you have that. Let's move on to our next story.
All right, so Mrs. C, I'm going to stick with you for this one in from the Premium Times. Sarah sues Buhari and others over missing 3.1 billion naira in a finance ministry because you kept asking, where's the money? Where's it going? What are we going to use with it? Well, they're asking those same questions. Now, 3 billion naira of public funds are missing from the Federal Ministry on Finance. And the Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project filed a lawsuit against our president, President Buhari, over his failure to probe the allegations of that missing money. Now, in the suit, Sarah is arguing that the allegations amount to a fundamental breach of national anti-corruption laws and the country's international obligations under the UN Convention Against Corruption, to which Nigeria is a state party. And they said investigating and prosecuting the allegations and recovering any missing public funds would serve the public interest and end the impunity of perpetrators. What's your take on this?
Okay, thank you, Shopman. Again, another recurring incident of just gross impunity. Sarah, at last count this year, has filed 3 different suits against the federal government, the National Assembly,
Now the
and
president.
related agencies. So, what is this story about? The Auditor General audited the 2018 and 2019 accounts of the Federal Ministry of Finance, and he discovered that the sum of 3.1 billion naira could not be accounted for. Now, I'm going to give details of part of these expenditures. In 2018, the Ministry of Finance spent 24 million naira on pre-retirement training without any documents. The consultant who was hired for the pre-retirement training did not provide any quote for the training, but was paid 5.67 million naira.
Okay, then.
Very interesting times. Then, now, with regards to that transaction, the consultant first put in a request for payment on the 20th of January 2017. However, the voucher for his payment was processed a week earlier on the 13th of January 2017. Now,
Mr.
It's taking his time to say this.
No, Mr. C is trying to give you the gravitas of just what it is, but
now
I feel like a lot of people will say, this is old news.
No,
They've seen this before.
No, but it's the recklessness now. So on the 17th of May 2017, a contract for 98.5 million naira was awarded, no documents. The sum of 9.3 million naira was deducted with withholding tax and VAT, no evidence of returns. Now, on sometime in 2019, 20.4 million naira was paid to staff of the UN government scheme. It was never retired. And it goes on and on. Now you would ask, where's the chief law officer of the Federation? That is the Minister of Justice and all of this. Where are the prosecuting agencies? What exactly are they doing? Everyone is turning a blind eye because the body language of the man at the top is let them be. We cannot become the nation we earnestly desire if we do not have strong institutions. And thank God for Sarah.
All right, thank
I
you
have
so
to
much
say,
for
Sarah
that.
has been.
Yeah, they
doing-
filed a lot of
yeah.
lawsuits, at least this year. Okay, so let's move on to our next story real quick. This one talks about roadworthiness, right? Frustration, pain greets Lagos government's new vehicle roadworthiness policy. And according to the story, let me just put a text to this, a background to this. So scores of car owners, have been sweating on Friday. Sweated on Friday as they waited their turns to have their vehicles inspected at the Lagos Vehicle Inspection Center in Ujudu. Now, motorists, private car owners criticized the new system of having to physically inspect their vehicles before obtaining their roadworthiness certificate. Now, lots of people have come out to talk about how difficult this process is. What do you make of this?
Okay, very quickly. It's a policy that makes no sense. We have over 5 million registered private vehicles in Lagos State. There are only 27 test centers. It will take an average of 30 minutes to decently check a car. So in a day, you probably have one individual checking 2 cars in an hour. And all 5 million vehicles have to be checked physically now, as compared to the new directive this year, excluding the commercial buses, the commercial vehicles. we don't need anyone to tell us that an avenue for bribe taking and bribe payment has been created.
All right, thank you so much for that. We're totally out of time, but you can find our analyst up on social media. You can find Cheta at Checkster on across all social media platforms, basically. Yes,
Yes, at Chickster.
at Checkster. And also, you can find Mr. C on Twitter at the Mr. C, and also Monsieur C on Instagram as well. Yes, Mr. C.
Yes.
All right, Lagos. There's more to come in a few more minutes. We'll be here with you for Lagos Talks 981. Don't forget, this is Smooth 98.1.
Yes, Lagos Talks coming up.
8 o'clock.
I know.